And welcome back. This week, we're taking a look at a no take-back policy in Commander. And also, we're taking a look at the data that we collected from SCG Con Atlanta. I'm Levi.
I'm Jacoby.
And I'm Joe.
And this is a Thought Vessel show. Let's jump right in.
So what's one of your favorite gotcha moments?
Gotcha moment. What's that?
When you see someone doing something, they could be like lying, they could be just going about their day, and somebody just flips it on their head being like, sorry, I got you. Whether that's in the lie or as they were going to do something, it meant that something else was going to pop up right in front of them instead.
An example would be like, someone says, these are the rules of the game. And then you go, okay, I do this. And they go, there's a new rule. And you go, no. We already got there.
No rules. One rule.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I think I've got one that would work here. This is kind of going back to my college days when I was actually at Monmouth for a year before transferring to Wisconsin. We were in a kind of a history class, one of the general eds he had to take. And there was a student that came in and he was complaining very loudly to the professor that he did not agree with the paper that was written. And she said that there were some inaccuracies in the paper. And he was strongly attesting to, no, this is correct. And keep in mind, this is before ChatGPT or anything like that. He's like, no, this is correct. This is what the author meant by this. Little did he know that this professor wrote the goddamn book that he was referencing and was using it in this particular class to test out the subject matter before going to publishing. So he was arguing with the person who wrote the actual textbook about what her intentions were with that subject topic. So I've never seen someone fail a paper so hard.
That's a great gotcha moment.
You'd think that you would put 1 and 1 together to make 2. No, he put 2 and 2 together and made fish.
Absolutely. Granted, I get it. General Ed, he's not in the history department. She was like the world-renowned expert on Eleanor Roosevelt, randomly. She got her doctorate from the University of Texas at Austin. Very well known in that department. If you're from biochem or another field, you may not understand who that person is, but
while true, name of the professor, name on the book.
Well, a lot of authors of books use a different name.
This person did not.
Oh, okay. Well, then they have no excuse.
Yeah, they have no excuse.
Yeah, this was not a surrogate author or anything like that. This is very much an academia-inspired publishing.
Ballsy move, Levi. Let's see if it works out for him.
That's probably my favorite gotcha moment. It's I am actually the president of the university.
The author was wrong. I am the author. What do you mean?
I wish he would have doubled that. Well, then you're wrong. But no, it's okay.
It's not how that works. That's not how any of this works.
What's yours, Jacoby?
So, I play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons.
No shit.
No shit.
Man, after that spring break bender, we definitely couldn't have told you that.
Couldn't have told me that, yeah. So, long story short, there was this guy leading the campaign, right? And he was very, very out to it about making sure if you cast spells, you follow all of the things on the list. Some spells, you have to use words, your hands, blah, blah, blah. Made a whole stink of it the entire night. We go to fight his big, scary monster thing. It's a lich. Liches cast spells.
Liches be tripping.
Mm-hmm.
Liches be tripping. So you know what I did? He's going to go to cast this. And I say, okay. I put my fist in his mouth. And he goes, okay, he's going to still cast. Remind me, what components does that spell have? Oh, verbal? How is it talking with my fist in its mouth? And he just could not come up with an answer.
Crazy.
He's like,
anyway.
I'm trying my best not to make a Kardashian joke or something right now.
Coward.
We're keeping it professional.
What? We're professional?
Semi-professional.
We're semi-professional?
We spoke at Magic Con Chicago and stuff.
That doesn't mean that we were professional. That just means that they gave us a panel.
We don't have to be professional to be professionals.
Keeping in mind, we are going for the Content Creators Badge right now, and they might check out this most recent episode.
Yeah, and guess what? Being professional doesn't matter.
And they're going to laugh, and then they'll invite us, clearly. Because I know we can be okay.
We're going to get banned.
No way. Now, if I start stripping, yes.
See, we would both have to beat you up at that point.
I'm not sure the amount of clothing you're wearing is going to affect the audio-only podcast.
Stop it. Anyways, so yeah, that was my gotcha moment, is guy wanting to be so about the rules. And then when I flip them on his head and I go, do your rules still apply to you? And he didn't have an answer for me and was very frustrated.
I have similar scenarios in my security profession before I got into IT, where there were so many times in which people tried to argue their way out of the boots that we would put on their cars as patrolling security guards because they were parked in the wrong space, whether that was in the handicap space, whether that was in the visitor parking that we told them that they shouldn't be parking there unless they had the nice little badge. It was real nice when they were like, but I am a visitor. Okay, do you have all of the things that show that you're a visitor? And then literally they're pulling stuff out and there's an employee badge right there falling out of their wallet. I think you played yourself on this one. It happened so frequently in the 6 years I was a security guard where people would just try to get out of every little thing of punishment. It's so weird, but it's also vaguely human.
I think so. I feel like a lot of people try to get away with a lot of things, whether it's parking tickets, speeding tickets, murder.
I will say there's a lot of people who it's always the people who want to have the most stringency about rules that do not know how to follow rules.
Though funny enough, when you say murder, it reminded me of somebody who was just like on Tinder swiping, matched with somebody. She's like, oh, what's your last name? Oh, you're going to Google me? You'll see that I'm a murderer. Just ignore that. She's just like, oh, that's really funny. Googles, he was a murderer. Like, oh, you were joking.
Now that's a gotcha moment if I've ever heard one.
Almost got your moment.
Right? That's some Ted Bundy shit.
I mean, I consider that a gotcha because they're like, haha, here's the truth. And they're like, oh, you silly you.
What's weird about that story is he's so casual with it that
he added the winky emoji.
How many people were attracted enough to this person that they just ignored the murderous red flag?
Again, Ted Bundy. That was literally the MO of that entire serial killer trial, is that there was women in the nice little guest arena that's just like, hey, this guy literally has all the evidence of that he murdered the women he dated. I mean, no, we want to throw ourselves at him. Why?
They like a bad boy.
The
best boy in the land. No, but we have this really weird thing with humans where we have this fascination with like very dangerous people, whether it's Ted Bundy situation. If you know anything about history, like Bonnie and Clyde, like people were protecting them as they were running around the country, robbing banks and just murdering people in cold blood. It's just very fascinating on how much like we do not like particular things unless like they're charismatic or attractive, then it's okay. So it is kind of weird. But with that in mind, as far as these gotcha moments, that does bring us into our Am I the Archenemy segment. Jacoby, take it away.
Am I the archenemy for not allowing a take back?
Yes.
I am, of course. I am trying to do some self-reflection if I am the problem and owe this player an apology, or if I'm done with this group. We are all adults with kids. For me especially, this is just a fun side hobby to play with friends. So my playground has a take-back policy of no new information. Take-backs are allowed mostly to help speed up the game. We play CDH regularly. Basically, as long as no new information was gained, you're good. Good examples are, I cast this before it resolves. Oh, actually, I meant to play this, then cast that. Okay, end my turn. Oh, I forgot to play my land. Play some spells. Okay, I'm done. Oh, I guess I should have attacked. So on and so forth. We don't allow things like cast a spell, you got to draw a card, realize you played the wrong land, you attack and someone has interaction you didn't notice, the defending player can remind them and such, and so forth. If anyone interacts, we usually wait for priority to pass. So we have a 3-player pod. Me and player 2 aren't doing much. Player 2 has an Iron Mirror and Boots. I have a Spell Skite and Storage Matrix out to try to slow the game down so I can catch up. Player 3 is at 11 lands on turn 6 and has about 12 non-land permanents in play. Player 3 goes to cast a Bear Umbra on his creature. I laugh and go, oh, you mean on Spell Skite? Pay the blue to change the target to him. Player 2 is in with me on, yeah, got him, and he protests and says that doesn't work. I say, yes, it does. It is an enchant creature. We argue and he looks it up and it works. Well, I won't cast it then. I wouldn't have if I had known that. Both player 2 and I protest a little as like, dude, you cast it. We drop it as he is known to get super salty and immediately goes to remove the Spellskite with mana he would have used for Umbra. As I put Skite in the yard, I say, and I will admit very passively aggressively, still think that the Umbra should have happened. Guy goes, whatever then, man. I scoop then, and sits and stews in his chair with everyone just not wanting to deal with him. Keep in mind, player 2 and I have nothing. He had almost 40 power on board when he scoops. This interaction did not cost him the game. So we continue to try to play. We had basically playing a whole new game of Heads Up. It was awkward and unfun with the tantrum he just threw. It was my last game, so I just tell player 2 I scoop. I need to go. I reach out to player 3 to shake hand and tell him, good game, I am sorry if I upset you. We debate on takebacks and none of the others around want to take a side. It is civil, but he is still obviously upset. Extra context for this. Player 3 has a reputation for getting extremely salty. He has been our ride to a place and gotten so pissed off he wasn't winning that he has left us stranded while he cooled off. So I really want to know, was I just being pushy on the rule and need to apologize to this player, or give up on this play group because I cannot stand adult tantrums? Edit 1. Didn't expect so many responses, so he added some more information. And Edit 2, he did make an attempt to apologize and is going to start trying to figure things out on how to do webcam magic or something other type of environment, as this was too toxic an experience for them.
The fact that he is so salty that he abandons them as their ride to the place, fuck that guy.
Well, in the past, for sure.
Even then, that's fucking rude. You are a person's ride to a place. You have agreed to take them there and take them back through any means, whether that be because they are your friends, because they have paid you, because they said, hey, here, have a snack, and you abandon them because you lost at a game? Get over yourself.
I definitely understand that. However, that was extra backstory context. So I'm trying to can understand where he's coming from, but I'm trying to focus on the things prior to that.
Even then, the guy...
obviously that part, he's an arch enemy for sure.
Even then, the guy literally goes and tries to apologize to him for that. And he wants to bring it up and not just be like, it's a game. Like, dude, it's a game. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes you don't fully understand how the rules work in that context. And they got you in that moment. You could either be the salty bitch that you are currently, or you could learn from it.
So my particular opinion does not include how I feel about this situation, but I have a very strict policy when it comes to how I let takebacks happen. I only let takebacks happen when it's a learning curve. Like someone is completely uneducated on how a card works. For this instance, we'll say the Bear Umbra and the Spell Skite that they presented. I would let it go and just be like, all right, fine, I'll let you take it back. Because they had to look up the ruling for him. He was absolutely sure it couldn't work. And then he was just wrong. But if this was a player they saw often, which it sounds like it was often enough that he had to straight up stop going to that place because he's just way too toxic. Everyone seems to have an issue with this guy.
Yeah, especially when they added context and made him sound even worse.
You don't strand people at places when you're mad. Not even just bad things, not even just bad form. What if an emergency happened and you were just gone?
That shit happened to me in college. The dude got salty because the friends were teaching me League of Legends. And they caught him ganking me very often because he's known League of Legends and I'm just learning. And they called him out saying, he is learning. Why are you doing this to him? And he gets pissy, upset, and leaves. He was my ride.
That's messed up. Although, to be fair, most League players are salty. As a previous League player, let me tell you, worst people.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking through this here. The letter of the law in their group for policies is no new information and allowing for a take back. So in this situation, you've cast a Bear Umbra, you put it on the stack, and then the Spellskite transfers over. The Spellskite's already here. It's not like it was flashed in. So it's already there. So I think as it stands here, unless you're counting revealing the Spellskite, revealing the Bear Umbra as new information, which I don't think you necessarily could because then there'd be no takebacks ever, really, that I think that in the parameters, a takeback is justified to do. I think where, kind of reading through the context here of where the salt might have occurred, because I'm trying to look at both sides as equally as I can. if he's notoriously known for like kind of being a salty person, maybe saying stuff like maybe like laughing at him, it's like, oh, you mean Spellskite. That may not have been the best way you could have approached that.
Well, the issue with the take back in that is because they do, in fact, do if you have someone who has interaction on board and you forget to ask. That's where I think they're focusing on because they specifically like you attack and someone has interaction you didn't notice, such as they have a death toucher. Knowing what's on their board is still on you to understand and know that that will work that way. Even if it was a learning moment, the learning moment was not inscribed in their rules as this was written. And because he didn't understand that Spellskite would do that to the Bear Umbra, that's why they're saying it shouldn't have been a takeback. Because the interaction was known on board.
I wouldn't necessarily agree. Yes, the interaction's on board. However, not understanding a text box and how it functions is the same as not knowing the interaction is there. If we sit here, right, and we look at Blood Artist, and I go to do a thing, and I wipe the board, and I realize that it only ever says player on my card, and I wanted to ping something else, and I couldn't target what I was going to do, I feel whoever's doing it would be vindicated to some degree to be like, I didn't really understand this interaction because it wasn't worded right. I gave a poor example, but point being is like understanding exactly how some of those cards work is not verbatim. Because fun fact, not everyone knows you can do Spellskite's ability for things that have no targets. That specific card, I can see the confusion. I can see how you could be like, how the
Yes, but my argument is specifically on the rules that they set down. That the fact that there was interaction on board was that there was no new information to be provided with the interaction on board. And that's why I can certainly see their point of view on why there shouldn't have been a takebacks. Because the interaction was clearly on board. He should have been asking, okay, what might have happened with that? And it should have then resolved that way. He could have certainly been, well, that sucks, but he's still in a dominating lead.
Oh yeah, he shouldn't have scooped and walked away. That's no questions asked. I also think though, again, if you don't comprehend how a card works, how are you to determine if it's interaction or not? If I go, hey, here's this brand new card you've never read, and you didn't read the fact that it says each opponent instead of target opponent,
I would be on your side if they didn't also put play CEDH regularly.
See, again, in this particular scenario, sure. I'm just saying.
And that's at least where I'm focusing on, is at least this scenario, because this is the scenario we were deconstructing. Outside of that, sure. That's a different story. We approach different people different ways.
Well, it does say my play group has a take-back policy on no information, and we play CDH. So we don't necessarily know, like 100%, that he also plays CDH. The cards listed here, like Iron Mirror, you're probably not going to see that in a CDH deck.
Yes, but I'm pretty sure he's talking about that as this is his play group, and because they play CDH regularly, they should have some knowledge that Spellskite is in play in CDH and how it works.
From the context we were given in the story, player 2 sounds like a regular he plays with. Player 3 sounds like someone he had new interactions with, because in the context of the story later, he talks about other people saying that this guy's toxic.
Well, no, the edit 2 was literally after all of the feedback, and the feedback is from the Reddit comments saying that he was toxic. Just the extra backstory, this guy has, player 3 gave player 2 a ride to the plays. They should know each other.
Yeah, I guess.
For me, I think when I'm trying to get in player 3's head, I still think that I don't think that player 2 was the arch enemy here. I think he brought it upon himself a little bit, but I don't think it's enough to justify what happened. You know, certain things like if you know someone's notoriously salty, like maybe don't stoke them on with that kind of stuff. Or like good game. Sorry if I upset you. Like, I'm sorry you're being upset right now. Probably is not the best way to approach that conversation.
If that's how you take an apology, then never be apologized to. I'm going to be frank. You're never going to receive a good apology. It's not going to happen. Because if you take, hey, I'm sorry that I upset you as a sorry that you're upset, then you are inherently going to take any apology someone's going to give you and you're going to flip it in a negative context.
That dude's just toxic and honestly a full arch enemy in and out of Magic the Gathering.
I think you can just simply say like, hey, sorry that got tense. Are we good?
No. No.
I think it's easy enough.
I think you shouldn't have to dance around hey, sorry, my actions bothered you. You should not have to dance around the fact that they are upset. You should acknowledge that they are upset and go, clearly, I did this to you. That is on me. That is how that is contextually given. Because, see, taking it as the other way, those are two very different statements. Sorry you're mad versus sorry I made you mad are two. One acknowledges you did a thing wrong. The other one says, sorry you're salty.
Yeah.
Like,
Specifically, good game. I am sorry if I upset you is I am uncertain at this point in time if the entire experience upset you, but if it did, I am sorry.
yeah.
That is the full context of that phrase.
Though I do agree with you on the way that they went about like the laughter and the poking fun about the bear umbrella. That context, you are absolutely vindicated, and I agree that they probably did not word that right.
That's not even the correct way. Like, it should be in response, I'll pay the blue mana to redirect the target to Spellskite.
No, they were doing it in like a friend way, like any one of us would have done to each other in our own play group, where it's just like, I cast Bear Umbla, and I'll cast it, and it'll be attached to this. It's like, do you mean Spellskite? I pay 1 blue mana and change the target?
I don't think he was up for that vibe, though.
I was going to say, like, there are certain people that I play with at the shop, like Will and a few other people, who I specifically choose my words to be exactly as it says on the card, rather than some kind of like, haha, this is what I'm doing thing. I change the vibe very quickly because I don't want to upset those people. Whether that's make them sad, upset, mad, whatever it could be. I think in this particular context, he was not down for that.
It sounds like the guy is going to be upset no matter what happened, especially when he is winning and them from behind wanted to just, have a friendly vibe saying, oh, you mean this? And play the game in a friendly way. And the guy wasn't having it. I don't think that guy wants fun. I think he wants to pub stomp and just be on top of everything instead of being a reasonable human being that sometimes can fail.
Yeah, he's an asshole. I know. Yes, we're staring right at this situation, but we have to be able to compare it to everything else, because otherwise, how do we formulate a real opinion? But yes, you are absolutely valid. I agree with you. This guy's absolute garbage.
Yeah, but I'm also relating it to an outside experience.
Yeah.
Don't always assume malice when stupidity could just be it. They're just being dumb, being like, oh, you mean Spellskite? Like, that's a dumb comment that friends would say to another. If you are taking that into a act of aggression and you're just being like, well, I wouldn't have cast that if I knew. That's a little aggressive when they were trying to do a little playful thing.
Yeah, he should have been like, oh, no. Hey, can I take that back real quick? I didn't understand that interaction. Because then I'm sure it would have been fine amongst them if he was like, oh, I really didn't genuinely know that. Can we roll this back? Because knowing how this works now, I wouldn't have done that. Probably would have been perfectly fine, and they probably would have let him do it. I think the gotcha moment and then like him just being a complete soured turd ruined the whole even willingness. Because if you're sour to me and I'm like genuinely trying to have fun with you, I'm not going to let you take stuff back. I'm going to be like, you committed. You want to play that way, we'll play that way. We commit to these decisions. Armageddon on the stack.
Yeah. That's at least my stance. That this guy, I don't even think that he should be playing games with people until he probably sees somebody about his saltiness.
I rate him 1 evil out of evil.
He has been awarded 1 singular yike.
I'm trying to understand the motivation, because he says if he's got 40 power on board, then why not just take one player out, keep the guy who's got the boots and the Iron Mirror alive,
because
wait a rotation, just take him out. Like, I think what triggered him, if I would look at it, is the like, yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, he needs to go and see someone about that, because he is obviously not playing this at a reasonable level that everybody thought they were coming to the table with.
Well, even if he was playing at a reasonable level, right? You have to understand. Some people, even though this is a card game and you love to be technical and you love to like be like, okay, well, since we're in this situation, that's what we do. Most people don't view the game that way. Each of these people, it sounds like this is their side hobby. It's like a video game. Why would you shatter a $40 controller against the wall out of anger when you can just stop playing? But guess what? There are plenty gamers out there plenty of streamers who you will watch get flustered, yeet a controller, shatter it, and then go back to playing. Some people just cannot regulate.
And I've also recently had a game where a interaction was not well understood. And I even talked with our mutual friend Kevin, and apparently he's also been gotcha'd by that specific ruling when a level 2 judge told him that, even though it was incorrect. And it was the removal of any piece that says players can only cast one spell per turn. What had happened was I cast the one spell to get rid of the piece, and they said, okay, so that counts as your one spell when the piece already gone. What happened was they thought that because the piece was removed and that was my one spell, that the effect continued until end of turn. This is what a level 2 judge told our friend Kevin, but the level 2 judge was wrong, because when the piece is gone, you can then freely cast spells because the piece is no longer there as a limiter.
Yeah, it's not like a ETB effect or anything like that where it would be.
So I can see where, yes, the judge is wrong and there is no contest. I can see how the judge misconstrued it. There are some cards, they shouldn't last until end of turn after you remove, but there are some that do that.
Yes.
But that's not one of them.
Yeah, like,
So,
like Vorinclex, if you commit your land, kind of gets that stun counter before the stun counter was a thing.
Yeah. But specifically, it was at that moment.
If they would errata it to something like that in the future,
I
or make something similar.
I don't think they would, because then at that point, Vorinclex gets worse because you could proliferate them.
Yeah.
You mean better? Like
No,
scary.
Worse for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Worse as a play experience.
And with it.
Yeah. But yeah, specifically after that was found and was brought to the attention of the player looked at their board, looked at where everybody else was, realized their position was not as powerful as this guy when he scooped, and just like, this is not a winning position for me. I would like to go to scoop phase, which nobody batted an eye, because it's understandable at that point, because he was at 18 life while everybody was still in like 35.
Yeah, there are some instances in Magic where we run into cards and I have to sit there and really be like, okay, hold up. You go to do this, 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 and this. Like, actually, yesterday, we had a gentleman at the shop, new face to me, not new to the shop. He had a Mothman deck and he kept missing his Rotstein triggers in the midst of his Mothman trigger. Like, he kept trying to do things out of order, not understanding that one is upkeep, one is after draw, one is in pre-combat move phase. It's just a lot of information sometimes.
It's just going to be like that because we don't rotate things out in Commander. So every set's just going to have more and more. And that's just going to be what it's going to be.
You try to get them on the right path as best you can.
Yep. So you both think he's fully the arch enemy. I think it's about a 90-10 split where
I can
he's
agree
like
with
90%. But
I can agree with a 90-10 split.
I'll give you 90-10. That's a very negotiable term.
so
Maybe 95-5.
That's where I would stand, but I'll accept 90-10. I will give you the 5.
I'll keep things round numbers. So speaking of percentages,
Maybe a 97-3.
No.
Yeah, come on, man. Can you spare True Fitty?
Nope.
Man, he's a
Now it's
stiff
80-20.
politics.
Nope.
All right. So speaking of numbers and percentiles here, we have the data back from SCG Con Atlanta.
Ooh.
I was asking 2 questions for this convention. First one was, what field of work are you in? Second one was favorite 2-color combination. And we're gonna kind of break these down here. So I asked what field, so I'm not worried about job title, salary, duration of job, anything like that. I just want to know, like, generally speaking, what Commander players do for a living from like a field. For example, here, I'm going to give you the top 5. Does anyone want to guess any of the fields?
Lawyer.
Okay, lawyers or legal law.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with engineers.
Engineers,
Go with doctors.
doctors, which should be medical.
Not necessarily.
That's where I would put a doctor. If we ran into one, I'd put it in the medical field.
I'm going to also go with service industry.
Service. We did have service industry. We did have engineers. We did have healthcare or medical profession. We did not have any lawyers. Nothing in the legal perspective there, but
Levi feels very threatened by the fact that there are no rules lawyers out there.
rules lawyers for sure, but it's not passing the bar.
Well, now I got to pass the bar.
Or paralegals or anything like that. But we have the top 5 we have here. We actually had a tie for 5th. So at number 5, or at number, well, do you want to do a countdown or count up?
Count up. Let's go from
Okay.
bottom up.
All right.
And then when we're done, I'll be happy to share what I do
Sure.
Same.
for them to compare against us as well.
And number 5 is similar professions, though different, is a tie in fifth. Each of them had 6% of the votes, or approximately, was retail. And this could be like Academy Sports. This could be any kind of the shops in the mall, stuff like that. And food/drink. So this is a lot of like restaurant chefs, bartenders, that type of profession
Makes sense.
too. So these are kind of your average Joe, getting off work, going to play some Magic kind of a thing.
But I'm not average.
You're above average Joe.
Yay.
That would be a pretty cool Twitter handle. I'm not going to lie. That was number 5 here with 6% each. Next is going to be 7%. This is warehouse workers. There was a lot more people that work in the warehouse industry than I was expecting at this particular one in various degrees. Some people were just like forklift operators. Other were on like the management side of things.
Funny enough, most of the player base that I was very close to in Florida, all warehouse people.
Definitely is a big industry. A lot of people in warehouses from all walks of life. So a lot of them wanted to do Magic. I definitely respect that. A lot of coordination, working as a team, problem solving, finding places to put things and compartmentalize. I can see how that can translate over to a commander type of event. Number 3 on the list is at 8%. And this was all business and finance. So this could be anything from like a financial advisor to marketing or anything like that. The only thing that I didn't really include in that would be like sales team. With that being said, a lot of people in the business finance world, this makes sense. These are people that, work the 9-to-5 jobs, work with the numbers a lot. They just want to have some type of hobby. They might have more expendable income to put towards this type of a hobby. So we have business at number 3. Number 2, this one I think surprised me the most, utilities workers at 9%. So these are going to be your plumbers, electricians, HVAC operators type of a deal. So
Cool.
Morris Jenkins type.
Support your unions.
There you go.
Most utility workers are under a union.
And most utility workers work pretty decent hours and decent pay per hour. So they definitely, I envision, have the income, and they have to walk into a situation and kind of comprehend what's going on real quick. So I think that's a great mindset to bring to Magic.
So yeah, and these, similar to a lot of things, these are a lot of identification, recognition, diagnosis, problem solution type of professions that I'm seeing so far. And number 1 that should be surprise to no one at 10% is IT. So information technology, one notoriously nerdy of a field for the most part. If anyone's watched the IT crowd, absolutely is the case in every business that I've worked at. Joe, you do have some experience in the IT field now.
Yes,
you can
correct.
definitely attest to that. But it came in at 10%, or about 1/10 of the people we talked to worked in IT in some capacity, whether it's management or even at a lower rung or whatever it might be. So that's kind of top 5. Looking at this as a whole, these are people that do have to interact with people for the most part in some capacity. Warehouse a little bit less than the rest of the field. But
I don't think less.
how often are you dealing with customers?
How often are you dealing with every employee in the building?
Well, that's different than like customer facing.
Yeah, and it requires a very strong dynamic to do, because no matter how you feel about that coworker, unlike a customer, you can't pass them along to somebody else.
Yes, and that certainly can do more concrete interactions with them because you will know them better. There's a difference between getting your concrete bearings and then having a fluid bearing when you are dealing with someone you don't interact with on a daily basis.
I totally agree. But I would not say that a person who works at a warehouse cannot do immense problem solving, because if you do not like somebody, you have to discover whether, and you're going to continue to dislike this guy, how to interact with them. You have to find ways to agree with disagreeable people.
Which sometimes you just send somebody else.
No, you can't do that in a warehouse setting.
I don't know. I've done it with other jobs, or I've had to do that. It's like, hey, you're good at talking to them.
Kind of circling back to my point here, it's the only one that isn't like a client-facing, dealing with customers on a daily basis profession. Retail, food and drink, you have to do that constantly as people are coming in. You're going to see a lot of different people. You have to interact with customers that you may only see one time. They may be coming in super happy, lucky, go have you, and they might be really, really mad about something that's super arbitrary. It just really depends. And you're going to deal with hundreds of people, thousands of people over the duration of your time, whatever it might be. But these are all jobs that in some capacity require a lot of planning or problem solving, a little bit creativity, kind of thinking outside the box to get things done. So it makes a lot of sense to me that these would be the professions that are going to be highlighted.
Especially because each one of them just deals with people. And dealing with people in a game setting is just what's going to happen.
Is there any profession in the top 5 that you were just kind of surprised by that did not, that you would have thought would have been in the top 5? Because I've got one.
Literally suggested lawyer as my first pick. It's not in
Yeah.
the top 5. But that's probably because they really don't have a lot of time.
That's fair. And I think there isn't as many people in a demographic that pass the bar and qualify as lawyers. So it'd be harder to get them in a poll kind of a thing.
But legitimately, they just hardly have a lot of time because they're having to read a lot of law books to figure out what angle that they can shoot. They're building up their argument. They're going to court. They're meeting clients. It can be a really long time for them before they could like sit down and even play a game.
And we've seen people in the legal field do well in Magic. Like Olivia Gobert Hicks was a paralegal before getting out of the Commander Advisor group and things like that. So like obviously it makes sense that she was an Orzhov player.
She also does LARP
I believe it.
with Brian Kibler.
I absolutely believe it. With that, I think the one that I was surprised in, being that it's a lot of, this profession would be a lot of diagnosing, crunching numbers, analyzing everything. So everything has to be a particular way. I'm sorry, I didn't see it in that many accountants because I would have thought there'd been a lot more in the accounting department that would have been really big into Magic.
Huh. I wonder if the stereotype of the boring accountant is perpetuated there.
Yeah, if you're boring and you come to learn this game, half the time you're not going to stick, unfortunately. If you're just like, I'm going to do the thing. And then, like, no one has any fun with you. And then you just keep coming and you're just boring.
That's the stereotype of accountants, is that they're just boring. It's unfortunate that they're not in there because then that would have been like, hey, the stereotype's not true. Accountants can have fun.
I mean,
No.
I had multiple college teammates that were like collegiate hammer throwers that were accounting majors. So like I know that you can definitely be a charismatic accountant. It's just some people, their brains just work in that accounting world. And like I'm not good at accounting. I'll be the first one to tell you, but it is, I feel like there could be a lot of positive correlations with accounting and doing something like Magic. That requires a lot of number crunching and keeping track of a lot of moving parts.
Well, I guess what I'm shocked to not see more of, but it makes total sense, is more artists.
That's very fair. A lot of people in that realm. We had, as far as art is concerned, writers, painters, things like that. There was, I guess, in total, like there was 2 writers and 4 people that worked in painting. Some of them were like auto body painters and stuff like that. But
I think the main issue there is that most of the artists come to those events not to play, but to get paid.
Well, that's a lot of artists in Magic, but when I'm thinking artists we would see playing, I'm thinking artists that do art outside of Magic.
that's true. I feel like a lot of people that are artists do something else, and art is kind of like a side project. Like it's hard to do art full time.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of people, even at the bar that we go to. Zach, if you're listening, hey, how's it going? Is like he does his own tokens, and they're all really nicely designed. Like it's more like it's not like a realism, it's more like a cartoon, but it's like usually like a really out of the box concept, and they all look great.
Yeah.
So like if it's a deck he really likes, he'll make all the tokens himself, and it's really cool to see someone kind of flex their artistic skills in that way.
For the most part, you're likely not going to get art as their primary profession, because if they're doing that as a primary profession, it means that they are getting paid a lot of money to do that. And that's not always going to be the case. That's why you usually get a lot of the responses of, I do IT, but I like to do art.
You know, actually, the one that now that I'm thinking about it, because I said that because artist was unrealistic and I agreed. I am legitimately surprised less members of the military as like a core function.
Yeah, we only had around 2% that were military.
Yeah,
Active military. There were a few that were like former military that.
Yeah, I'm talking active military, not just former.
Yeah, because I know that I played a lot of Magic with active military back in my security guard days.
Yeah, that's a group of people I actually expected to be somewhere close to the top 5, but it wasn't.
Yeah, nowhere near.
Well,
it might have
I
just
can tell you
been
why. Because they're active duty military members.
Listen,
harder to get away.
It's a little bit harder to get away. Yep.
I can dream, Harold.
You are a chair.
But that is fair. Moving on here to the colors. There wasn't a whole lot of correlation. There was kind of a couple of funny ones. Like I talked to someone that was a biochemist and their favorite was Simic. I was like, yeah, no shit. You know, and
Crazy.
you got your finances Aureus people, and the weird ones for me was like when you said someone that was in healthcare, that was Golgari, which is all about life and death. I'm like, that makes perfect sense, but also really disturbing.
It all grows down here.
But
Gross.
absolutely wild. But it was kind of cool seeing that there wasn't like a particular trend in a field versus the colors that they liked. But with that said, I did collect the colors to kind of see what the top 5 and bottom 3 would be. Anyone want to take a guess of the color pairs? I only asked for 2 colors. What was the top 5?
Definitely going to be in Dimir. Dimir's definitely up there.
So we're guessing Dimir.
I think Izzet and Simic, Orzhov, and I'm going to go Rakdos.
Actus. Okay.
In order or just in the top 5?
In the top 5 somewhere.
Golgari, Izzet, Simic, Orzhov. Yeah, Rakdos. Rakdos, I think, is in the top 5.
So we'll start on the bottom and kind of work our way up as well. At number 5, with about 8% of the votes, was Rakdos.
Nailed it.
Number 4, with 10%, was Simic.
Oh, am I gonna get the reverse sweep?
The one that I don't think either of you mentioned, I'm surprised neither of you did, was number 3 was Gruul with 12%.
Fair enough.
There's a lot of Unga Bunga.
I unga, therefore I bunga.
I don't see a whole lot of Gruul anywhere. That's cool though.
Number 2 was Golgari at 16%. And the massive number 1 was Dimir at 28%.
Oh, man. Crazy that Dimir is the top. I'm shocked. It was like the first one out of my mouth.
But the crazy thing is, like, when you look at EDH Rec, as far as like, people's favorite color pairings and stuff, and like, commanders that are out there, a lot of people, almost a third, said Dimir. But I don't see a ton of Dimir decks in the wild. Like, does anyone want to take a guess with the top 5?
Well, that's because it's usually Dimir plus.
Yeah, but
It's
do you want to take a
Dimir
guess of the
plus
top 5?
red.
Top
Dimir.
5 Dimir commanders right now in EDH Rec?
Well, one of them's Yuriko. I think
Italian.
Yuriko's number 1, actually. If we're only talking Dimir.
Talion, 100%.
Lazov is probably in the top 5 somewhere, I think. Like, just a Lazov. I don't know. I wouldn't guess which
Toxrill.
Toxrill's in the top 5, I think.
So I will put you at ease. Neither Talion nor Toxrill were in the top 5.
Fucking rude.
Oh, what's his name? Will Held, Rock Cleaver guy. He's
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
number 2.
Yeah.
It's Yuriko's number 1. Rock Cleaver's number 2. Who would be number 3?
Is Jacob right on this?
So far, Will Held and Yuriko are number 1 and 2.
I looked at building Will Held. I had a theory because it was the highest rated zombie commander. What would be number 3? I don't think Lazov would be 3, but I don't know what could
I've
be
given
number
up this
3.
race, so I'm going to look.
I have to guess.
Yep. Yes, you do.
Is that a Ludovic?
No.
Okay.
Let's do that, and there we go.
So
there.
I don't think you would guess number 3 because it's really random.
Okay, hold up. I think I know what number 5 is. Hold up.
Okay.
Don't-
Really random.
It's not random.
I think it's
We
very
actually know someone who plays that guy.
Hold that thought. Is number 5 Phylax?
No.
Okay.
Number 5's a bit of a basic bitch.
I mean, yes, but also was a boogeyman.
Absolutely. However, like when we say number 5, you're like, yeah, that makes sense.
Is number 4 a Ludovic?
Nope.
Oh.
Number 4 is super random.
No.
It's exciting, but I don't think I've ever seen one in the wild.
I actually built one for a friend as a white elephant gift for their
Nice.
pod.
It's Tasha.
What? No.
No?
Well,
I thought that's what you
we'll let you off the hook here. So number 3 is Captain Nagathrod. The
Gathron.
Horrors Have Menace.
You know
I
someone
thought he would have been number 5.
Nope.
Number 4 is Satoru Umezawa, the ninjutsu commander.
Blightsteel.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
something of a ninja myself.
And then Scarab God at number 5.
Who is it at number 5?
Scarab God.
Scarab God. Zombies, Scry bunch.
I don't know why every time I think of Scarab God, I think he's Izzet because I'm thinking of the other fucking
I
god.
think Locust
Yeah,
God.
that's the Locust God.
But like, I never think of Scarab God. He always just makes me think of Locust God.
We never see a lot of Scorpion God. Scorpion God's also a cool commander. I think he's just kind of cursed by being the worst of the 3.
Yes, correct.
So
100%.
poor
Yeah.
fella.
I think an entire deck of those gods would be fucking hilarious. You just keep killing them and keep coming back.
Oh, hey, cool. Let's pull out that Morophon and just make it God Kindred.
Well, I think you'd probably want to do like a Nekuzar
Nekazar also
because
could
you can
do it.
discard creatures into your graveyard, bring them back with Scarab God. When you're drawing, you're getting stuff, and then you use Scorpion God as kind of removal. And it's in the Grixis colors, so you get all 3.
But also, if you just do Morophon, they become very colorless cheap.
Not everything needs to be Wooburg.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
I want all.
Bet on it.
I want all the gods. So one of the only times I will agree with Joe, I would rather just go Wooburg.
Wooburg agreement. We high-fived. It was not loud.
Yeah, he hit my bad hand very gently.
At least he did that. But
Very
that
good man.
we also have the bottom three were actually were tied,
Okay.
which was Boros, Izzet, and Azorius.
My poor Izzet.
So basically just universally screw Jeskai, I guess.
I'm shocked it's not higher.
I think, well, when I look at Boros, Izzet, and Azorius, is Izzet and Azorius lead to kind of hated on strategies, whether it's really bogging people down or consuming a bunch of time with like a time monopoly situation. And then Boros just isn't as efficient, and there isn't a lot of different ways that Boros is going right now.
Yeah, I did recently try to do the Izzet portion of my 32 deck challenge, and man, a lot of the archetypes are very samey of cast spell, do thing, value, and sometimes can just monopolize time.
There's not a lot of diversity there with the two colors. Dimir can go a lot of different ways. It can do, discarding things. It can be evasive. It can be graveyard. It can be, kind of control, fringe, Yuriko, CDH type things. Like it has a lot of range. Golgari seems to be where all the Necromancer planeswalkers or Necromancer players are going for the most part. And then, Gruul is going to be your kind of, I'm very simple. I want to punch people in the face, or occasionally they might do some like impulse draw, cast stuff from exile type things. And then, Simic is good, but Simic is very, very basic. I think it's you like it because of the power, but it only does value.
I play lands and draw cards. How do I translate that to a win?
Now that I think about it, if we're looking at the two color pairs just as pairs, it's just less predictable Simic in the sense that it's just doing the same thing, and it's less predictable because it's just all from the hand rather than on the board.
Well, I kind of refer to Simic as like fast mono white in the sense that it's going to draw cards and get lands, but like you're going to win by just beating someone in the face over and over and over again, versus Izzet at least has the ability to kind of have like a super duper explosive turn that's going to take 20 minutes and then maybe somebody dies.
But with the advent of Modern Horizons 3, Simic now has Maze's End.
Yeah.
So now Simic does in fact have a win condition that isn't beat face.
Or, I mean, you can technically draw your whole deck in Thoracle and other stuff like that. But
man, boring.
But
leave that to CDH.
But with that being said, I think that, Simic, I think it's like the most just raw power. It's just they don't have a way to close out, which is usually when they get that third color where it's like black, white, or red. Like usually it really kind of takes off. But you have two very strong kind of support colors that aren't really driving. Then you put them together and they're just going to work each other. You have the best card draw and best ramp in all of Magic working on the same team.
Wizards, if you ever listen to us, hear me now. Make an interesting Simic commander that doesn't do the same thing every other Simic commander does.
So as far as the results, what do we all fall into?
I'm in the business finance area. My favorite color pair is Azorius, although it's a harder to play.
Crazy. You, Azorius? Couldn't picture that one.
I do love it. As far as the brewing is gone, I'm trying to be more proactive with my deck building. This is how I'm going to win versus this is how I'm going to stop who's trying to win initially. Then this is how I'm going to win. So I'm trying to just get to the first part to be more proactive, which is harder to do in Azorius because you're not in fast colors, where unless you're doing a bunch of like mana rocks and stuff, like you're going to start out slow. So you have to find ways to bring everyone back to your pace. So it can be a tough color pair to work with, but I do enjoy a lot of the play patterns. How about you?
Well, obviously I'm in IT. Even though I've gotten into the more managerial side, I still do a lot of IT work inside of that. And of course, Izzet's my favorite.
It is.
And that's why I'm very, very sad that it was bottom 3.
Mine was too, man.
I know, it's sad. But usually it's also because it's like, Izzet plus? I'm usually not just playing red-blue. I'm usually playing red-blue-white, red-blue-green, red-blue-black. The nice, I'm going to spell things and then also have another thing that helps me do things. Green to ramp, black to tutor, white to punchies? I think it's punchies.
Well, white becomes Simic all over again, but it just adds more teeth to it as far as like having stacks pieces and better removal.
Punchies.
Bant is a very fun color combination.
That's fair.
Yeah, but this is Jeskai. We're casting spells.
We're slinging slam.
That's why Kaikar is the favorite in Jeskai builds.
Well, yeah, you've got Kaikar, you got Holden Shabraz over there too for their wheel decks, and Jeskai, I have enjoyed a lot. Like even the Riders of Rohan Precon with the human stuff they're doing over there. I think Jeskai might be one of my favorite color combinations for a 3-color.
Well,
Although
did
I will
like
say,
Jeskai.
kind of uncharacteristic of me, I absolutely love on 3 colors Naya. Every time I've played a Naya deck, it's always been a good time.
I just remembered what my Jeskai deck was. It was actually Dr. Madison Lee. I wanted to storm off with artifacts.
Very is it of you.
Yeah.
And Jacoby.
I am a blend technician for a coffee facility. I was a coffee roaster. Now I do a lot of the hands-on work for a company for certain parts of the building. And I don't think either of you would have guessed this. My favorite's Boros out of the 2 color pairs.
So all the bottom 3.
Yeah.
No, that sounds right.
I like the Boros because it has interesting things, such as, hey, Feather, let's get our stuff, all of our instants and sorcery buffs back. Or Zada, let's give it to everyone.
No, this doesn't surprise me because you're an aggro boy.
It
You-
does
You like
surprise
being
me.
aggro.
It does surprise me a little bit because when we first started this podcast 17 episodes ago, like you were a lot more favoring blue at that point in time. I think you've changed since then, which is granted, we're talking, 30 some odd weeks ago at this point.
Yeah.
So close to a year. We're coming up on that year anniversary. But
I also lean into Jeskai, but I lean into the weird part of Jeskai because most of the time Jeskai wants to sling spells and then punchies. I want the reverse order. I want to punchies and then it be the reason I'm slinging spells.
Yeah.
all right. Well, that is all the time we have for this week. Anyone have any closing comments before we get on with our days?
Really? No draft.
No draft this week. Next week, we will be doing the draft. We're only going to be doing 2 topics moving forward here just for the sake of time and editing.
Man, I'm appreciative.
Yeah, we've been working Joe pretty hard and the rest of us have not had any leniency.
I'm
So-
dead inside.
Sorry, Joe.
But yeah, moving forward here, just we want to make the show a little bit more condensed, a little bit smaller than it has been. So we're going to be being able to spend more time on the discussion side of things. So we're going to alternate every other week. So we're going to do a draft one week, and then the next week will be the Am I the Arch Enemy and just kind of go back and forth with our discussions.
Yeah, we were having issues just trying to condense our time because for myself, more in particular, my schedule's been more strict with work. I've had to take on a lot more overtime and we've had to try to schedule around a lot of my time, which has been rough on the boys.
I also like talking.
I
Joe,
also
Joe
like
is a
talking.
big fan of talking if you have not figured this out yet.
If he isn't the one doing it, I'm doing it.
Talk no jutsu.
Hiya, kick again.
All right. So I think that's all we needed to say for this particular episode. So we'll go ahead and close off here. Have a good one.
Take care.
Bye.